Beneath the blazing African sun, a lone patrol truck moved steadily across the sweeping savanna, its tires stirring up a thin veil of golden dust. Behind the wheel sat Alara, a seasoned wildlife ranger whose watchful eyes rarely missed the slightest movement in the tall grass. Years of working in the wild had sharpened her instincts. She understood that the land was never truly silent and that danger and wonder often appeared without warning. Her partner, Jonah, rode beside her, scanning the horizon with quiet focus. The afternoon seemed ordinary, the air shimmering with heat, until a faint, desperate sound drifted through the open window. It was so soft it could have been mistaken for the wind, but Alara's posture stiffened. She braked immediately, cutting the engine. "Did you hear that?" she asked quietly. Jonah tilted his head, listening carefully. The weak cry came again. "It sounds like a cub," he replied. They stepped out of the vehicle and followed the fragile whimper through thick brush and scattered rocks. Pushing aside a curtain of thorny branches, Alara felt her heart tighten at what she saw. A young lion cub, no more than 3 months old, was trapped inside a rusted steel pipe half buried in the dirt. The pipe looked like a remnant from an old construction project long abandoned. The cub's front legs were wedged tightly inside, and its small body trembled with exhaustion. Scratches marked its dusty fur, and its wide amber eyes reflected fear and confusion. It had clearly been struggling for hours. Alara crouched slowly, keeping her movements deliberate and calm. "Easy, little one," she murmured, her voice low and soothing. She knew that panic could make the situation worse. The cub gave a weak hiss but lacked the strength to resist. Just as she began assessing how tightly it was stuck, Jonah's hand touched her shoulder. His expression had shifted from concern to alarm. "We're not alone," he whispered. On a slight rise overlooking the scene stood a pride of lions. Several lionesses and 2 large males watched intently. At the front was a powerful lioness whose focused gaze made it clear she was the cub's mother. Her muscles were taut, her ears forward, every inch of her body prepared to defend her young. The air thickened with tension. One wrong move could trigger an attack. Alara inhaled slowly, refusing to let fear control her decisions. "If we move carefully and don't hurt the cub, she might understand," she said under her breath. It was a fragile hope, but it was all they had. Turning her attention back to the trapped animal, she gently placed her hand on its back. She could feel its heart racing beneath her palm. The metal edges of the pipe were jagged with rust, and pulling the cub out by force could cause serious injury. "We need to reduce the friction," she said quietly. From their medical kit, she retrieved a clean cloth and soaked it with water. Slowly, she dampened the cub's neck and shoulders, washing away dirt and cooling its overheated skin. The cub whimpered but didn't struggle. Jonah carefully supported its head while Alara attempted to ease it backward. Despite their effort, the cub barely moved. Its legs were stuck too tightly. The lioness stepped closer down the slope, her tail flicking sharply. Time was running out. "We'll have to cut the pipe." Jonah hurried to retrieve a portable metal cutter from the truck. When the machine roared to life, sparks flew as the blade bit into the rusted steel. The cub flinched at the noise, but Alara kept one hand steady on its head, whispering reassurance. Every second felt stretched thin as wire. She could sense the pride's growing agitation. The male lions paced, and the mother lowered herself slightly, ready to spring if she sensed harm. Piece by piece, the pipe began to split. They worked with painstaking precision, careful not to let the blade slip too close to fragile fur or skin. Sweat trickled down Alara's temple, stinging her eyes, but she didn't dare wipe it away. After what felt like an eternity, the final section of metal loosened. Alara quickly set aside the tool and gently pulled the pipe apart. With a final soft cry, the cub slid free into her arms. Before relief could fully settle in, a thunderous roar shattered the air. The lioness charged forward, covering the distance with breathtaking speed. "Back away," Jonah urged urgently. They stepped backward in unison, avoiding direct eye contact while keeping the cub between them and its mother. For a brief heartbeat, everything stood still. Then the cub, wobbling on shaky legs, recognized the familiar scent and sound. It stumbled toward the lioness. She slowed her pace, bending her head to inspect her young. She sniffed thoroughly, then began licking its face and neck, checking for injuries. The pride gathered around them, forming a protective circle. Ilara exhaled a breath she hadn't realized she was holding. The lioness lifted her head and looked toward the rangers. There was no gratitude in a human sense, but neither was there raw aggression. It was a measured, assessing stare, an acknowledgement that something unusual had occurred. After a long moment, she turned away, guiding her cub back toward the safety of the tall grass. One by one, the pride followed, disappearing into the golden landscape. Silence slowly returned, broken only by the rustle of wind through dry brush. Jonah let out a shaky laugh. "I think that's the closest I ever want to be to a charging lion," he said. Ilara allowed herself a small smile. "Worth it," she replied softly. She watched as the cub paused briefly at the edge of the brush. For the slightest instant, it seemed to glance back before trotting after its mother. Then it was gone, reclaimed by the wild where it belonged. As they packed up their equipment and extinguished the last glowing ember from the cutter, the sun began to sink, painting the sky in deep shades of orange and red. The vast savanna stretched endlessly before them, beautiful and unforgiving all at once. Ilara knew there would be more challenges ahead, more injured animals, more threats caused by human carelessness, more moments where courage would be tested. Yet seeing that small life reunited with its family reaffirmed why she had chosen this path. Driving away, she reflected on the delicate balance between humanity and nature. People often leave behind more than footprints, discarded metal, forgotten machinery, and other hazards that become silent traps for wildlife. But people also have the capacity for compassion, bravery, and responsibility. Sometimes, the line between danger and mercy is as thin as a single decision to act. Would everyone risk their safety for a helpless creature with predators nearby? Not everyone would. But on that scorching afternoon, instinct and empathy guided two rangers to do what they believed was right. And in return, they witnessed a rare moment of quiet understanding between species. If this story moved you, take a moment to like and share it so more people could be reminded of the importance of protecting wildlife and preserving our natural world. Make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss more inspiring stories of courage, compassion, and the powerful bond between humans and nature. Thank you for being part of this journey and for supporting the message of conservation and kindness.